We have, you know, again, I don't know if the word remarkable, no, it's not remarkable. It's just pathetic, all time low. I mean, it couldn't be more obvious that this president of the United States does not give a shit about the United States. Not in word, not in action, not in anything. I mean, the man literally does not know what the F he is talking about. He never does, and he never did. And this is the champion of MAGA. This is the champion of the Republican Party. This is Mitch McConnell's president, the guy Mitch McConnell capped for, and now you got, and now you got, damn, what's the dude's name who's even worse? Who could be even worse? Oh my God. What the hell is the Speaker of the House name? MAGA Mike Johnson. Now you got MAGA Mike Johnson. What's up, Mitch McConnell? I mean, Mitch McConnell could have stopped all this long ago, but he is something's really wrong with him. Anyway, he's in the past and Trump is today. And this is what the Republican Party of the past basically curated. They curated Trump. I mean, make no mistake about it. It doesn't matter. I mean, some, of course, spoke out against it, but no, don't you all have some retrospective thought to where you can see you build the pathway for something like this to happen? I mean, they built the pathway. They didn't address it. They made guns a partisan issue, and this is what you got now. This is what you got now. Anytime people try to address healthcare, housing, things like this, they made it guns. They made it violence. They made it a partisan issue, which it shouldn't even be a partisan issue. It should be like something all political parties are deeply concerned about, and that is the health of the American people. Partisan issues should be way different than what they are in the US. But partisan issues are very simple in the US. They're like, should the poor in the richest country on earth, should the poor be allowed to exist? Answer, no. That's how partisan it is. It's like in the wealthiest country, I mean, countries that are far less wealthy are way more progressive and have found a way to have way more peace even with poor people eating. You know what I'm saying? The rich have gotten rich. They've had a way to even keep their elite, you know what I'm saying, while still giving the poor something. But in the US, the poor are condemned. The poor are condemned openly in word by this administration. And if you get in, I mean, not even by Trump, it's like by his sycophants even. We heard the Fox News guests, if they want to call them guests, because they're regulars, daily regulars getting paid money by Fox News. We heard them suggest that poor people should be euthanized and kill them, just kill them, openly. And we've heard all other types of statements, hateful statements. Their champion, Charlie Kirk, was assassinated by another person who grew up in a gun-toting state where weapons to kill people are literally worshipped and put in the hands of children, and instead of education. You know, the U.S. is a country where you have a president that laughs at education just because he knows uneducated people are so stupid. This is how you know it's very, very sinister, because they really went into the minds. Probably, I'm sure Mike Zuckerberg and all these other internet media outlet companies helped him collect this data about how do poor people think. And if we can figure out how poor people think, then we can use them. We can use their own thoughts against them. And so when you see a poor ignorant person, not poor people, but poor ignorant, I'm sorry, because there's a difference. All poor people aren't ignorant, but a poor ignorant person would laugh at a education, at a person who's educated just because they don't have it. You see what I mean? In Denmark, in the Scandinavia, they call that the Yenta law, and it's a social law, but it's not. It's a fictitious. It's based on a fictional story, but it's something that a lot of people practice. So it's a story based on some real social values back, 100 years ago. But this social order exists in different ways. They got different terms for it. In England, they call it Punkernick or something, Pinkernick syndrome or something. But in the U.S., they haven't really talked about it so much. But it really runs rampant in the U.S. among the poor and uneducated, and that is to look down on people that have educations, right? This idea, you're not better than me. And Trump, he has really, with this MAGA brand, they have really figured out how to get into that, get the data from those people that think things like that and use it against them. So instead of offering them education, they just say, hey, fuck a education. See, they took the next step now. So now it's like Trump can go out there and laugh at people and then say Charlie Kirk is a hero because he dropped out of college. I mean, this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. They're anti-science. They are just literally anti-science, which explains why they don't understand that a fetus can kill a woman if it's not healthy. It's just that simple. They don't understand a fetus can kill a living woman if it is not healthy. And yet they still pass laws to make a woman carry an unhealthy fetus, risking her own life, knowing that the fetus will either be extremely problematic if it can be birthed or might kill the woman and die in her womb anyway. I mean, they still just cut it out. It's just ridiculous. They pass so many anti-human laws, and that is what MAGA should be called. It's anti-human. It's anti-human, and Trump is the president of that brand, and the Republicans paved the way for it. This is what the Republicans did, and it's really, really sad. So it's at this point where people don't care. People have been dumbed down so much. The standards have been brought down to an all-time low where you can literally just have a president openly just saying shit now. He doesn't have to come anywhere near the truth now. I mean, look.
One more on Venezuela. The president of Venezuela called the strike on the boat illegal. Are you concerned that Maduro might escalate something?
No, what's illegal are the drugs that were on the boat and the drugs that are being sent into our country, and the fact that 300 million people died last year from drugs. That's what's illegal.
Okay, any excuse? Let me see the excuses for that comment. And let's watch, everybody. Let's learn. Look in the chat, read the excuses. Let's get some data from these people so we can learn their excuses so we can help, educate them later. So let me hear your excuse for that. Why is it okay that Trump said that? Why is that not a sign of just total nuttiness? Why is that not a sign? Tell me what you think. Does Trump know what the fuck he's talking about, or doesn't he? Let me know. I want to see the excuses. Why did Trump say this? What makes this comment? What gives you confidence from this comment? Let's hear it again.
He's not telling the truth.
One more on Venezuela. The president of Venezuela strike on the boat illegal. Are you concerned that Maduro might escalate?
No, what the drugs that were on the boat and the drugs that are being sent into our country, and the fact that 300 million people died last year from drugs. That's what's illegal.
Do you think
Country, and the fact that 300 from drugs. That's what's illegal. And the fact that 300 million people died last.
300 million people died last year. That's what's illegal. Yeah. Okay. But it's not the first open lie that Trump has told. This is Fox News, by the way, but whoever's asking him is not Fox News. I don't believe it could be. But this isn't the beginning of Trump's lies. Trump is literally the lying ass president that is permitted to lie by his base and permitted to lie pretty much by media outlets like Fox, right? They don't call it out. They're not there to call it out. They're there to suggest that poor people and homeless people should be murdered and euthanized. That's what they're there for. Along with this president, this is the hero president that they have, who they basically protect. It's really, really sad. So while they have this, this is the best they got. This is the best they got here.
Why me and the deputy have been quarterbacking this investigation ourselves. There is no one at the FBI that's going to politicize this investigation. There's no one at Quantico or anywhere else that is going to say we are not looking at X or Y. We are looking at the facts, and that is why we are releasing the facts in record fashion. If you go back and look at historical cases like Luigi Mangione and the Boston bombing, how long did it take the Bureau to release information to the public? We're not.
Right.
5 days, and they happened in
Right.
downtown.
So Cash Patel is just another one doing the same thing, taking credit for the state police's own investigation, really, because that's who it was. Cash Patel wasn't anywhere around, right? Taking credit for the state police, taking credit for the father, right? Now, in the bombing that he's talking about, they did release a picture. Releasing a picture doesn't mean you release all evidence that you have. And so, again, he's openly lying to ignorant people. People that don't know, that know the Boston bombing, they did release pictures. They released pictures. What is he talking about? In this case, they did the same thing. They followed the age-old act of releasing a picture of a suspect when you first have one to the public so that the public can chime in. But listen to his snake words. I mean, he's a snake. He's a snake.
In downtown major metropolises. We have bombing. How long did it take the Bureau to release information to the public?
You see, how long did it take the Bureau to release information to the public in the bombing? They released the picture instantly. As soon as they had a photograph, they released it. The picture is public. Now the same thing happened here. The state police got a picture. They released the picture. Guess what? Guess who turned them in? It didn't take long because the father turned him in. The father turned him in. Without the father being willing to turn him in, or a family member, how much longer do you think it would take? You see? So the father actually did the work. The local state police and the father. Cash Patel really had no work to do, but this is what they will tell the public. Cash Patel also said that they would release the Epstein files, that it was vital, that, it needs to all be released because, all of the deep state people are all inside of it. And now he's flipped, and now he's not going to do it. So this is the same guy. But back to Trump, because Trump has been known to just lie, and there is no end to his lies. I'm really curious, like myself, when it will end, but it's not going to end because MAGA won't make it end. Hold on, what is this? Here it is. Let's see what this says about Donald Trump.
Yes, Donald Trump did make a claim along those lines, but it appears to be false, misleading. Here's what's known so far. What Trump said. While discussing US military strikes on alleged Venezuelan drug smuggling boats, Trump claimed 300 million people died last year from drugs. The Daily Beast. He used this in the context of justifying a strike on a Venezuelan boat said to be carrying drugs. The Daily Beast. What the fact-checkers say. Officials and data show that the number is wildly exaggerated. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, indicates about 79,383. Factcheck.org, the total US population is around 330 to 340 million. Trump's claim, if taken literally, would mean nearly the entire. The Daily Beast, Factcheck.org, calls his 300,000 or 350,000 people died last year from drugs, claim a gross exaggeration. Factcheck.org, 300 million people died last year from drugs, tying it to the attack on a Venezuelan-linked boat. But that number is not supported by credible data and is false if taken literally.
Right. So it's entirely false. But let's see here. Here we go.
I couldn't find a trustworthy, up-to-date count of how many false or misleading statements Donald Trump has made since January 2025, this current term. Fact-checking organizations have reported many individual examples.
Right. So
but
Trump
no one
is
seems to have
basically
published
known
a
to be a liar.
comprehensive
So
running
this
total for the
300
current
million,
term yet.
that's nothing. Trump can come outside now and lie about anything that he wants, period. And it would not matter one bit to the MAGA, to any MAGA supporter. By the way, this is the same group, right? When you asked them about the Epstein files, they all were, Trump campaigned on the Epstein files. The MAGA people swore the deep state was in there and Hillary had drank baby blood on Epstein Island. They swore all types of things. Soon as he got in power, day one, he changed his position. Now they're fighting to not release the Epstein files, right? And you would think that would be enough, but no, there's still MAGA supporters. They're split a little bit right now. They have like two different fractions, you could say, of right wingers. People that don't support, Biden, people that don't support Kamala Harris, that they talk openly about and make up lies, by the way. But they make up lies, but here are all the lies. Even if you just remove Kamala Harris and Biden and Hillary, those lies that they campaigned on, even if you remove all of those, you still have these kind of lies that are made just openly about policy and events day after day. And Trump is literally known to be the president that lies so much they can't keep count. They can't keep count.
Yet. Here's what is known and an estimate. What we do know. In his first term, 2017 to 2021, the Washington Post's fact checker counted 30,573 false or misleading claims. The Washington Post, that averaged out to about 21 false or misleading claims per day over that full 4-year term. The Washington Post. In the current term, there are multiple fact-check articles showing specific false or misleading statements. For example, inaugural address and related remarks had several. AP News. Statements about overdose death numbers being vastly overstated recently. Factcheck.org.
Okay, so here it says, because we don't have a running database for his first time, any number is speculative. But based on the pass rate plus what he has been documented so far, we can sketch a plausible range. So listen, y'all.
Estimate for this current term. Because we don't have a running database like for his first term, any number is speculative. But based on past rates, what has been documented so far, we can sketch a plausible range. If one assumes that he is making false or misleading statements at a rate similar to late in his first term, say between 20 to 40 per day, depending on how active in speeches, rallies, etc., then, from 20 of May 2025, approx his second inauguration, to mid-September 2025 is about 120 days. If he's making 20 false claims a day, that's 2,400 false claims so far.
That's the estimation from ChatGDP based on his past, based on just his past, what they know. So in 6 months, ChatGDP estimates that Donald Trump has already told 2,400 false claims. He's already made 2,400 false claims. And if he's more active than his past, it could be anywhere between 3,600 to 4,800 false claims in just a half a year, just 6 months of his terms. And this is the world you live in, which is why the price of your food is going to be more expensive and keep rising. The price of education is going to be more expensive and keep rising. The price of healthcare is going to be more expensive and keep rising. Yes, it will. And it's because you literally elected a president who is known to be the most lioness ass MFer in the entire history of presidents of presidents, essentially, especially in the Western world. I mean, you won't find one, you see, and that's the reality. So every little lie, let's say here, if you did the math, let's say if you did the math here, in this math regarding the false claims, actually are connected to how much taxes you pay, how much you pay for goods, how much you pay for electricity, how much you pay for water, how much you pay for, transportation, how much you pay for education, school, your kids, and all of that. Actually, this would be interesting to see how this pans out if we do the math here. 2,400 lives. I'm going to actually take that up myself and come back on this note. But let's listen.
If more active, say 30 to 40 day, that could be 3,600 to 4,800. But these are rough guesses. The actual number could be lower if fewer public statements, or higher if there is heavy media scrutiny, many repeated or documented. I checked a number of major fact-checking sources to try to find any published tally of false or misleading claims by Donald Trump during his current term, since January 2025.
Oh, by the way, since you guys are in the chat, you can answer a question if you can understand English. And the question is, does it matter to you that Trump claimed that 300 million people died this year from drug overdoses, or does it not matter to you? If it matters to you, put a 1 in the chat. If it doesn't matter to you, put a 2 in the chat, if you can understand English.
I did not find a credible source that gives a comprehensive number yet. Here's what I found, and some thoughts on what this implies for estimating a lower bound. What I found. Source. What they checked in 2025. Do they provide a full total so far? Factcheck.org. They have many articles in 2025 pointing out false or misleading statements by Trump, e.g. about overdose deaths, Chicago crime, voting machines, etc. Factcheck.org. No running total since Jan 2025. AP News did a fact focus on Trump's address to Congress in March 2025, showing multiple false or misleading claims there. Abe No Total. PolitiFact, their latest false fact checks on Donald Trump, shows a stream of false statements in 2025. PolitiFact, no total. Washington Post, their existing total 30,573 covers Trump's first term 2017-2021. Wikipedia. Those don't yet include a cumulative count for the second term. So none of these provide a verified total count of false statements for the current term. What we can derive lower bound estimate from their fact checks, there are many documented false or misleading claims already in 2025. Each fact check article often covers multiple such statements. So even without a total, we can establish a minimum count based on sampled items. Here are a few examples. The factcheck.org, Trump again overstates number of drug overdose deaths in US, set for 2025, is one false claim. Factcheck.org, Chicago is the murder capital of the world, claim, false, misleading.
Okay, here's another question. Does it matter to you that Trump claimed that Chicago is the murder capital of the world? If it does matter to you, because it's false, if it does matter, put a 1 in the chat. If it doesn't matter to you, put a 2 in the chat that he made that false claim.
Factcheck.org, unsupported death penalty claim that it's a strong preventive, misleading. Factcheck.org, the fact check of mail-in ballots, voting machines, Aug 19th, 2025, had several false or misleading claims. Factcheck.org, the address to Congress, March 5th, 2025, multiple misstatements. Factcheck.org. If one simply counts these documented items in fact checks, which is quite partial, I count at least dozens of false or misleading claims already in 2025 that have been publicly identified.
I mean, it's already a fact that people that support Trump don't care if he lies. I mean, that's a well-known fact, essentially, because that's how you got a second term out of Trump. That was already established the first time that, hey, they don't care because they go for tropes. They go for trope policy, meaning like if you point and blame an immigrant or if you use racialized language, then you can get MAGA's attention. But when you get their attention, simultaneously, what you do is you rob their savings, you rob their Social Security, you take back Medicare and other services that they pay for in advance in taxes to give the tax breaks to the few billionaires, who pay for a lot of trolling online. It's true. And so it's already been proven, but this is just to ask and, keep the data going to find out, what do MAGA supporters believe? And also even just examine some of the troll activity. Look at how the trolls speak. Examine the rationale, how they get to their base.
Estimate lower bound. Given that major speeches, public addresses, tend to generate multiple fact checks each, with several false or misleading statements, it's likely that by mid-September 2025, the number is at least in the low hundreds, 100, 300, just among the ones that fact checkers have explicitly documented. But since fact checkers don't cover every...
Who is this in the chat? Chris Lawn? So prove that you don't make misleading statements. How do you know if I pay taxes or not, Chris Lawn? How do you know if I pay taxes or not, Chris Lawn? From Australia here, if that's a real person, how do you know if I pay taxes or not, Chris Lawn? How do you know? And this would be the perfect example of a MAGA supporter. They don't care about if Trump tells lies. They don't care what they even talking about. Chris, how do you know that I don't pay taxes, Chris Lawn? See, the fact of the matter is that Chris doesn't even know anything, and that's the weird part about it, and people go for this. It's like a mob of people that all you have to do is throw them tropes and they follow the tropes. They don't follow the actual detailed facts. They can't do it because you wouldn't be trying to make a few dollars offline about politics. Well, actually, to be honest with you, Chris Lawn, I actually work a full-time union job, my friend. And on top of it, I live a quite decent life. You see what I'm saying? And I only got involved with doing lives politically, okay, during this last election. To be honest, I've been doing some documentaries before that about the Danish healthcare system, which was back during this was back after Al Gore owned his media company. So that's the facts. This doesn't pay my bills. This is just even if I've never gotten paid any 1 cent from YouTube, actually, if you really want to know, because I just actually got online. So Chris, if you can prove what I'm saying is incorrect, please do so now, Chris Lawn. Oh, okay. So he just says all his claims and comments are based on me using AI. Therefore, he knows this and that and that and this. Exactly. That's how MAGA people think. They're just bigots. They're just bigots. They don't need facts. They just make any type of claim. These are the same people that said Hillary Clinton was drinking baby blood on Epstein Island, and now they don't want the Epstein files released. Continue.
Many go unchecked.
We're talking about the lies coming out of the hate party, MAGA, the party where most of the actual killers, violent killers, violent political killers in the United States, people that kill based on politics, come from. And this is how they think. And we're learning from Chris Lawn.
True number of false or misleading statements is almost...
Chris is probably an extremist also.
Certainly. Good. I built a conservative document.
Calm down, Chris. We're just listening to some basic facts before we go on. Take it easy, man. Calm down. Don't be in such a rush.
Lower bound. What fact checkers have explicitly published and rated false, misleading, for how many false or misleading statements about Donald Trump's current term since Jan 20th, 2025, we can verify right now. Short answer. Conservative documented lower bound. At least 50 distinct false, misleading statements documented and published by major fact-check outlets through mid-September 2025. That number is a conservative lower bound. It counts items that fact-checkers have published and labeled false, misleading, not every unverified or unchecked statement the president has made. How I got that number. Methodology, transparently. 1. I searched the major, established fact-checking organizations. PolitiFact, factcheck.org, AP Fact Check.
Yeah, Chris, slow down and put another shrimp on the barbie, mate. Slow down, man. Stop being so judgmental so fast, man. Damn, Chris is on fire in the chat. He knows all kinds of shit. He knows what you're thinking. He knows your history, your past. He knows if you pay taxes or not. He knows why you're on YouTube to make a couple of few dollars. He knows everything.
Plus the Washington Post's fact-checking coverage for itemized fact checks of Donald Trump in 2025. PolitiFact 2. I counted published fact-check items from those sources that occurred since Jan 20th, 2025, and that were rated false, labeled as false, or shown to be misleading. Each item is at minimum one discrete false misleading claim. Many articles cover multiple claims. 2. I treated each published fact-check item as one documented false misleading statement for the conservative lower bound. This avoids double counting, but also understates the true total because many fact checks contain several separate false claims, and fact checkers do not and cannot check every statement. What the major sites show, examples and counts. PolitiFact, their latest false fact checks on Donald Trump list shows 24 distinct false rulings in 2025. Jan.org sept entries visible on their list. That alone is a verified itemized set. PolitiFact, example entries on that list. Jan 7th, still counting 2024 votes. Jan 20th, birthright citizenship claim. Feb 6th, CBS 60 Minutes editing claim. Mar 4th, claim in joint session address. Multiple May.org entries. PolitiFact, factcheck.org.
I want to know in the chat, is there a correlation between the lies that MAGA speak, including the president, and the cost of goods today being more higher? Is there a correlation with that, or is that those two things just totally disconnected?
Their Donald Trump archive contains many separate 2025 articles, inaugural address fact check, address to Congress, multiple topic pieces on tariffs, prices, education, USAID, etc. Counting distinct 2025 posts visible in their archive and search results gives at least 18 to 25 separate fact-check articles during the Jan-Sept 2025 window, each documenting at least one false or misleading claim. Examples: inaugural fact-check, Jan 20, address to Congress, Marf, Trump wrong about US rank in education, Feb, false claims about gas egg prices, APA, exaggerates tariff revenue, Jun, etc. Factcheck.org, AP Fact Check. The AP has several fact-focus pieces covering the joint session address and other claims. AP has multiple multi-claim pieces through 2025. I counted several AP fact-focus items in 2025. AP News, Washington Post, their historical Trump database covers the prior term, 30,573 claims, 2017 to 2021, but the Post has commentary and sampling for 2025. They have not, as of now, published a complete running tally for the current term. The Washington Post, putting it together, conservative lower bound, PolitiFact documented 24 false rulings in 2025, each a discrete fact-check entry. PolitiFact, factcheck.org published at least 18 to 25 Trump fact-check articles in 2025 that document false or misleading claims. Factcheck.org, AP published several multi-claim fact-focus articles in 2025. AP News conservative documented lower bound, some of the above, 50 distinct...
So you get the point here. Trump regularly lies, and his MAGA base doesn't support it. So because they don't fight back, they actually support him lying. So that actually means Trump can say any lie while the price of goods goes up. The price of energy goes up, electricity, they're paying more for electricity. He refuses to help in natural disasters, and they still support him openly lying. MAGA people will tell you that it doesn't matter if Trump lies while he is the president of the United States. They will tell you it has no correlation between the cost of goods and the lies. They will tell you that. And if they have a chance to hear Trump lie, any day of the week, like he just lied about 3 million people died from drugs last year, they will also have an excuse for that, because that is the bar for them. That's the standard. The standard is you don't actually need to tell the truth to a MAGA voter. You don't need to tell the truth.
Just one more on Venezuela. The president of Venezuela called the strike on.
So this is a real human being, a real journalist, asking Trump a question about the bombing of a Venezuelan ship. And Trump, being a real human being, a cruddy one, he gives an answer back. Let's take a listen. This is not AI. These are real human beings, but it won't matter to a
Just
MAGA.
one more on Venezuela. The president of Venezuela called the strike on the boat illegal. Are you concerned that Maduro might escalate something?
No, what's illegal are the drugs that were on the boat and the drugs that are being sent into our country, and the fact that 300 million people died last year from drugs. That's what's illegal.
Do you think he's
Now, Trump ran on the platform, no more foreign wars. MAGA people, they complained. They were like, hey, man, y'all spending too much money on Israel. Hey, man, get out of that Ukraine war, man. When you going to take care of America first? America first. Us the people first. Is Trump taking care of the people first? How is America first going? How is the stay out of foreign wars going? Is he starting a war with Venezuela? Or is he staying out of foreign wars? What's going on? What's going on there? Is there evidence of anything that he has used the military for in striking these boats? Have they come up with any evidence? Where are the people? The people are dead. Where are the I mean, they just captured a boat the other day and found nothing. They raided, the military literally raided a boat and found nothing. Found nothing. The Trump administration is about to be sued for sending ice into a South Korean car manufacturing company in the USA. I don't know why they did that, because all they needed to do was check the information that they had on the employee books to find out they're legit. And they went in there anyway. I mean, yeah. When is it going to matter to a MAGA person? It won't matter to a troll, because trolls have another agenda. That's obvious. But I mean, it's really ridiculous how much this dude can lie. And he's not the only one. It's their entire base. Their entire base just openly lies. That's what they do. And MAGA actually celebrates them lying. They don't condemn them. They celebrate it.
Politics today. It is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left.
Yeah. You heard what he said. He said it's a statistical lie, right? That's what he said. It's a statistical lie. And that's J.D. Vance. That's the guy who is ready to be the president after Trump keels over, right after Trump pardons Ghislaine Maxwell. J.D. Vance is waiting his turn. And that's his lie for you. And he said it's a statistical fact, except there's no statistics that back it up. There's no statistics that back that up, what he said. He actually lied. What he told was an untruth, J.D. Vance. That's what he did. And, and again, MAGA folks are not the type of people that care about lies. They don't care about lies. For them, lies is just something you do to win an election, or something you do to use as a way to oppress other people. But lies for MAGA, it doesn't have to put food on the table. It doesn't have to make electricity cheaper. It doesn't have to make the cost of goods cheaper. Food, it doesn't have to make the cost of healthcare cheaper. It doesn't have to make the cost of education cheaper. Those are pure MAGA values. That is what it is to be a Donald Trump MAGA supporter. Literally. I mean, they like lies. Here, let's listen to some more lies. It's okay. Don't get upset. They just lies, y'all.
Murder are the tragic consequence of
demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. I really do. I hate them. I cannot stand them because I really believe they hate our country. It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. It's a very demonic party. Maniacs, they're lunatics. Radical left lunatics. Radical left lunatic. The radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. All these people, all this scum. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. Violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. I really do. I hate them. I cannot stand them because I really believe they hate our country. It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. It's a very demonic party. Maniacs, they're lunatics. Radical left lunatics. Radical left lunatic. The radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. All these people, all this scum. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? They are absolute garbage. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her. Absolute garbage. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her. They are absolute garbage. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. Violence and murder are the tragic.
Wow, and here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. He obviously doesn't have a problem with violence. That's just what it is. Trump has no problem with violence. He promotes violence. And but here's the crazy part about it. I mean, this is what I don't get about MAGA people. They actually believe that Trump gave a damn about Charlie Kirk. This is insidious. They actually believe Trump gave a damn about Charlie Kirk when it's more likely Charlie Kirk is just a useless throwout to him. He'll find another. He doesn't care. He got what he wanted. He can't be president again. Once he became president, people like Charlie Kirk don't matter. Charlie Kirk actually called Trump out about the Epstein files. So let me ask you, put a 1 in the chat if you believe Charlie Kirk was correct for criticizing Trump about not releasing the Epstein files, criticizing Trump about reversing his decision on the Epstein files. Put a 1 in the chat if Charlie Kirk was correct about the Epstein files. Put a 2 in the chat if he was incorrect about the Epstein files. I want to hear the MAGAs. Let's go. Anybody else can put in 2, but I'm especially listening for the MAGAs here. What's their thought? What are the MAGA thoughts here? Do you disagree with Trump or do you agree with Trump? Are you standing back and just going to say, hey, the Democrats didn't do it for 4 years? Is that the answer? Again, MAGA people, put a 1 in the chat if you agree with Charlie Kirk's criticism of Trump regarding the Epstein files. Put a 2 in the chat if you disagree. Yeah. You could see a lot of silence from those ones that was talking earlier. They just ran out the door. I wonder why that is. Shit, crazy. Let's hear some more of the hate speech from Trump. Well, this is really gaslighting because he starts off saying, why are you all calling me a fascist? That's so unfair. That's so unfair. Why would you do that? That's the problem with the country. You're spreading hate when you call me a fascist. And then right after it, all the comments of him doing the same himself. Here we go. Or worse.
Murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after.
So he blamed the radical left for Charlie Kirk's murder. That's what he's doing. And he's saying it's because of their speech that did it. But he's not claiming this speech.
After day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible.
Now we're about to hear Trump day after day, year after year, spread the same or worse, way worse, and actually spread hate speech. This is hate speech, you know. Radical left just called Trump a fascist, and he is basically.
I really do. I hate them. I cannot stand them because I really believe they hate our country. It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. It's a very demonic party. Maniacs, they're lunatics. Radical left lunatics. Radical left lunatic. The radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. All these people, all this scum. They're scum.
Look, let me tell you how cowardly the MAGA people are in the chat. Like Chris. He talked all of this shit. But when you ask him, does he agree with Charlie Kirk's criticism of Donald Trump on the Epstein files, he can't tell you. He can't say he agrees or he disagrees. He's got to write a paragraph in a book. He can't just say, I agree or disagree, you know, and that shows you how these people are. He's really a troll. He's not really an American anyway. Are you an American? No. So in any case, let's go on. Let's go on to the next one. It's okay if you support Trump and you don't live in the U.S., but I'm an American citizen. So personally, I know more than you about the matter. And so I'm going to utilize my voice also and my freedom of speech, you know. So here we are. Let's hear some more. If you don't mind, fellow Australian, I'm not fellow Australian, Mr. Australian. If you don't mind me using freedom of speech, I will, unless that's illegal.
At her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Is that a good idea?
At her, okay?
Is that a good idea? What he's suggesting, if that's a good idea, what he's suggesting, because I want to know from the MAGA folk, if that's a good idea, what he's suggesting about Liz Cheney, put a 1 in the chat. If it's a bad idea, put a 2 in the chat. I'll wait.
See how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there.
Come on, don't be shy. If it's a good idea what Trump is suggesting about Liz Cheney, I'm talking to the MAGA people. If it's a good idea what he's suggesting people should do about Liz Cheney, put a 1 in the chat. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
With 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9.
Oh, you damn right, John. Thank you. He is a monster. He's a total monster. This guy is literally openly, but this is normal for MAGA. This is what they voted for. This is what they voted for. This is what Tucker Carlson gave an audience to. A guy who literally, openly threatened shooting Liz Cheney. That's what he suggested, that we should put some barrels in her face. And I mean, he didn't say pull the trigger, but he's suggesting threatening her with that idea that they could pull the trigger, just put the barrel in the face first. I mean, he's, you know, this is what he does. And this is what MAGA people think is okay. And if you call me wrong, well, then how come they're not saying they disagree? If you disagree with Trump's suggestion, MAGA people or anybody else, but especially the MAGA people here that I've seen, I know who they are because I'm watching their comments. If you disagree with his statement, put a 2 in the chat. I'll play it.
Shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's
You can
put her
see
with...
none of the MAGA people are actually responding. They have chapters, they have paragraphs of anything else but a decisive answer. If you agree with what he is saying and you're a MAGA supporter, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree with what Trump is saying, put a 2 in the chat. Nothing else suffices.
with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. At her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. She's a radical war hawk.
So I proved my point. They can't answer the question, and they won't. They don't want people knowing. They're hiding. So they're playing a game about, is violence okay? It's okay here, but it's not okay there. And when it doesn't suit them, suddenly it's not okay. Suddenly it's not okay. When it suits them, it's perfectly fine. When it suits them means when it's a person attacking a Latino, a black person racially, right? Attacking someone's religion, right? Attacking someone's sexuality, attacking these kind of things, identity. They're into this identity politics. They attack identity. So it's okay for them to use violence and threaten violence when it's attacking someone else's identity. But when you point the finger back at them and call them fascists, they cry about it. That's literally what is happening. They cry about it. And then when you ask them, do they agree? Do you agree with Trump's statement? If you agree, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2. They don't answer. They can't put a 1 or a 2 in the chat. They just won't do it. You know, it's just how it is. It's a typical day in MAGA land. You know, it's a typical day in MAGA land. So that's just how it is. But let's see some more here. Here's our friend Charlie Kirk. I'm sure people know who he is. And this is the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance.
The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch, the writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I do not have power to be taken seriously. But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
But the problem here is that that's not what affirmative action actually means. Affirmative action means something else. It means due to structural discrimination, right? In education, in the job market, in institutions that receive federal dollars often, right? They adopted that practice to make sure they didn't completely exterminate and keep out others. You know, it's very simple. Due to racial discrimination, gender bias, it also applies to women. I mean, it's simple. And it's not only black women. You see, that's another falsehood. But yeah, so that doesn't mean you don't have the brain capacity. That means the exact opposite. It means you do have the brain capacity. And if If it wasn't because of discrimination, you would be more represented in these positions in the first place. That is what this affirmative action actually means. But let's listen to Charlie, the guy who dropped out of college, who could have learned that, but didn't apparently. And by the way, you don't even need to go to college to learn this. It's free information. You can just access it if you care. But if you don't care, why would you actually access it? You wouldn't, right?
You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
You see that? You had to steal. But this is the guy who didn't go to college, right? Who's saying that. How can you? He can't even claim that himself. I mean, if you finish college and couldn't get a job, I might be able to understand it. But this dude didn't, and he's claiming somebody stole his job. He's a dude, a man, who lives in a country that was founded on only white men, male landowners having a vote. Women could not own property. He's in that country, literally. Women could not vote. And he has the nerve to be talking about any woman. How ignorant are you going to show yourself to the world? How ignorant do you have to be? But this is Charlie Kirk. This is him. And this is JD Vance essentially reinforcing ignorance to his Appalachia audience. To his Appalachia audience, that's what he's doing. They're literally saying, hey, man, you don't need to go to college. These people are stealing. This college lady, she stole your job because of affirmative action. But you don't need college. Y'all, fuck college. That's what they're saying.
The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch, the writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson,
all of the women that he has spoken of actually have more credentials and higher education than he does. All of them. Why did he drop out of college? Is it because someone took his slot? Is it because someone took his space? Is that why he says he dropped out of college? Because somebody with affirmative action took his space? No, that's not what he says. That's not why he said he dropped out of college. He could have actually stayed in college and finished college, but he chose not to. Then he started a foundation where he actually could make money spewing hate. And he's successful, but he's not more educated. He's successful, but he didn't do his due diligence in university. He's successful, but actually in terms of law, he has far less credentials. In terms of politics, he has far less credentials than any one of those women. And if it wasn't for affirmative action, you likely would see even far less, even though it's only a minority. You know, it's crazy. This guy's crying about, they're literally crying about a minority of people. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
and were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. Saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
See, that is actually where the problem is, because that's not what affirmative action is. That's not what it was. And there's no place where it ever has been said to be, not in law. The law itself does not proclaim that. And there's no data that suggests it's true. So again, this is JD Vance, and just one of the average administration lies. It's not even a great lie. It's an average one. Now Republicans, after this very man, Charlie Kirk, who they lied for, right? Now that he has been murdered by who? A person that looks very similar to him, that describes himself as a white male who was raised in Utah, who was given a gun at a very young age, a gun that is designed to kill human beings. Now that that person has shot and killed Charlie Kirk, they're scrambling to try to figure out what to do, if there's anything you could do about gun laws. Because, by the way, Charlie Kirk, he basically was like, people that get killed, that's just the price for having it. But Democrats have never argued that you shouldn't have gun rights. There's no Democrat that's ever argued that people shouldn't have their constitutional right to guns. What they said is that there needs to actually be reformed so that it is safe and not unsafe. And when you have people that have mental spats, have people that are arguing and go crazy one day, have people that politically don't know how to disagree without picking up a gun and committing violence, or committing violence, like we literally saw. Like, look, yeah. Here's an example of some people that don't know how to disagree, right? Without violence, without using violence. And it's actually pretty horrendous. But let me see here. Where the hell is this file at? It's actually pretty sad, but it's at Charlie Kirk's, it's at his own vigil that they had. The mob broke out and they couldn't contain themselves. They couldn't contain themselves over the violence. Now, in this clip, they were at a Charlie Kirk vigil. It's like a day, or after some hours after his death, right after his assassination by the man who looks a lot like him, who was raised in Utah by parents that put a weapon in his hand as a child, a weapon that is designed to kill human beings, actually shot Charlie Kirk. And so this is at Charlie Kirk's vigil. Charlie Kirk died. But here's an example of how people don't know how to disagree without committing violence. But let's look at who it is. Someone walked up and said, one person, and said, fuck Charlie Kirk. And look at what happened. Now, the people, you can see these people. What do these people look like? Which one? Any Mexicans? Any illegal aliens in there beating him up? You tell me if you see an illegal alien in there that's beating this person up because because they don't like what he said. I actually don't like what he said, but I mean, is it a reason for him to get beaten up just because you don't like what he said? Is that a reason? If it's a reason, if it's a legitimate, I will wait and see what folks think. Sorry about that. Now, again, I'm just going to ask a simple question. Is it legitimate that they attacked the person who said F Charlie Kirk? Is that legitimate? Is that okay? Or is it not okay? If you think that it's okay and that it's legitimate to do that, put a 1 in the chat. If you do not, put a 2 in the chat. And I'm interested, especially for MAGA supporters, people that support Trump and believe and argue, make arguments for him and say that, hey, he's fine, he's right. So, do you believe that was okay? The person that said F Charlie Kirk, do you believe that that's a legitimate act and that it's perfectly fine? Or do you believe that it's not? If you believe it's fine, put a 1 in the chat. If you believe it is not fine, put a 2 in the chat. And no other answer will work because it needs to be clear. People need to know what you stand on individually when you're making comments. So, yeah. Haven't seen it, but let's go ahead. And nobody's really answering. You could see, again, most MAGA supporters, they can never give you a clear answer about what they believe. And my contention is that it's because it flip-flops. It only matters about who it is being hurt to them. If it is someone that doesn't share their beliefs, it's perfectly fine for them to commit violence, and they always support it. If it is someone who actually agrees with their beliefs and is the one getting hurt, they totally flip-flop on the position. Then they say, no, it's not good. You can't do it. You shouldn't do it. And the evidence is here. So I'm going to ask one more time. And it's okay if you can't answer. It's okay if you don't want to answer. That's also legitimate in my book because it can be quantified. It can be useful information, in anthropology, how people react to certain kind of questions in certain kind of situations. So the situation is this. This is Charlie Kirk's vigil after he had died. A person came up in front of a lot of people that cared deeply about Charlie Kirk, and someone came up and said, F Charlie Kirk. And so the question is it legitimate? Is it okay that the mob attacked this person and beat them up at the vigil? Is that legitimate? If it's legitimate, if it's okay, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree with the action, put a 2 in the chat. Other answers don't really, don't really matter. You can't use them because we need to know really where you stand on this. So if you don't stand anywhere on it, you don't have to answer the question. You don't have to put a 1 or a 2 if you don't stand on it. Now let's play it one more time. Look. Here's this is interesting. Do you agree with the people who are saying, oh, hold on for a second. What is this? Right. Do you agree with the people that are telling the mob that you're ruining his image this way? Do you agree with that? Is it correct that the people that beat this man up who said F Charlie Kirk are ruining Charlie Kirk's image? Let's listen to what they say again. They said several times, let him go, let him go. What are you doing? Do you agree with the crowd that's saying, let him go, let him go? What are you doing? You're ruining Charlie Kirk's image this way? Or do you disagree? If you disagree, put a 2 in the chat. If you agree with the audience saying, let him go, you're ruining his image this way. If you agree, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just interested in seeing what you guys think. Actually, I'm not surprised. I believe this kind of speaks to the split among MAGA folks, the MAGA, brand, if you want to call it that. They seem to split, and in several ways. But it's very clear here because when you give MAGA people the chance to answer simple questions, whether they agree that this mob attacked the man who said F Charlie Kirk, or do they disagree, they blanked out. That was like the blank out moment. And I think that suggests that that split is very real, and therefore they don't want to choose, right? They can't choose an easy, side. They have to kind of be ambiguous about it. And but I also think it speaks to the fact that overall, when something happens to one of their persons, or people that agree with their views, when something happens to them, they don't like a reaction from other people. But when there's people that they don't agree with, they agree with any action towards those people pretty much. So I think it also speaks to that kind of flip-floppiness of it. The data overall in the US, it suggests something much different. It suggests this, that most of the hate crimes are actually committed by the right. And here it is. Of course, the data is still being collected. And thank God hate crime has gone down. Thank God it's gone down. But, it's still largely represented by the right. Of course, all the data hasn't come in on the year 2025 yet, because it takes time to accumulate the data and to count it and to put it into numbers. But overall, you could see that most of the the violent hate crimes, like the attacks, that they're coming from the right wing in the U.S. And that indeed they have a problem with it. Indeed, they have a serious problem with this, and it needs to be addressed. And we're talking about guns, actually, so yeah, left wing murders, there you have it. Right wing murders, there you have it. And already in from 20 to 25, 44%, according to this network, is right wing. 18% is left wing. If you go back to between 2015 and 2019, it's higher. It's 63% right wing. It's 19% left wing. If you go back to 2010 to 2014, it's 33% right wing, 4% left, right? And damn, right wing killers. Oh my God, right wing murders and right wing killers. Look, right wing murders is 33% in between 2010 and 2014. But right wing killers is 24%. I mean, yeah, so I don't know how they separate that data, but yeah, this is the data. So I would think that this would be a reflection point when a young white male, according to his ideology, he describes himself that way, and his local town people do, and his parents, they describe themselves as white Americans, right? Among other identity points. To me, it seems like when one of these people is raised with guns and goes out and kills someone like Charlie Kirk, when he's from a family of all Republicans, I would think this would be a reflecting point for the right wing. And I would think that they would be okay with some sort of gun reform right now, at least addressing some gaps, some holes in the laws, because there's a lot of holes in the laws, to be honest with you. In many states in the US, you don't even need a license to carry a gun, period. Let alone the other lenient aspects of the gun law in the US. But I'm going to end on this note. And here you have it. One representative in Congress, Clyburn, he had a bill that's sitting on the table. And this bill was created after his church was shot up by a member who just came and pretended like he liked them, pretended like he was okay with them just to gain their trust, sat there, and then later came back and shot many people inside of the church due to racist ideology. And so this bill is still on the table. It hasn't been signed by Republicans. It's still there. It got passed in Congress. The Republican Senate has chose to do nothing about it. And yeah, so here we go.
10th anniversary. We are going to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the murder of 9 worshipers in the basement of the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. These were all constituents of mine, some of whom I knew very personally. And to invite someone into their midst, this young man was no stranger to this Bible study. He had cased the church, he had researched the church, and he picked this church because of its history. He wanted to start, in his words, a race war. And he went to the most historic African-American church in Charleston, South Carolina, Emmanuel AME Church, to carry out his mission. He sat there with them as they studied scripture. And when they bowed their heads to say a closing prayer, he pulled out this gun that he had gotten and murdered them. A background check of the kind we are talking about here today would have prevented that, because he never would have gotten the gun, because in the 5th day they found what the error was. My bill will close that loophole. This enhanced background checks act would eliminate the 3-day period and establish in its place a process that would take 10 days. And so I think it is fitting and proper for us to visit these 2 pieces of legislation, pass them into law.
So it was passed through Congress in 2015, and still since then, that's 10 years ago, hasn't made it through the Senate yet. And it needs a supermajority. When they say 60 votes in the Senate, that is what a supermajority is. That means you can do anything at that point with that supermajority. It's not a 51 like the Congress is. So people should be aware of that. And let's not spend our time about Charlie Kirk, because he's just one of many that has been shot by weapons, by guns, and killed in political incidents. As we know, many of us know, because this has been going on for a very long time and has never been addressed. Similar to the crack epidemic, it wasn't called an opioid epidemic. People, were seen as not worthy of a lot of help during the crack epidemic. But now, because the opioid epidemic has hit the broad masses of the United States across ethnic lines, it's considered something to be empathetic about, which it should be, because it's a horrible thing to be a drug addict, and struggle with drug addiction, among other things. But not mentioning the root causes, because a lot of things drive people to drugs: depression, poverty, not having anything to be active with, these kind of things. So it's worth stepping outside of the Charlie Kirk bubble, getting a real picture of political violence in the United States of America, and at the very least, doing something that can protect people a little bit more. I mean, you don't really have to train a kid at 10 or 11 years old. You don't have to train them to use a gun that is specifically made for killing human beings. That might help. Maybe we just keep guns out of kids' hands. How about we do that? That could be an amazing thing. Keeping guns out of kids' hands. If you ever should put a gun in your hand, why not wait until you're a full-grown adult and go get tested to get a license, so that everyone knows your background, so we know you don't have mental issues where you break out in rage. And by the way, anybody could have a bad day. But we need to take some of these things into account, because even if you can't solve a person having a bad day, you can solve young kids getting weapons in their hands that are designed to kill people. You can stop that. So on that note, y'all, I appreciate everybody. Always, even the MAGA folk, even if you don't like me, it's okay with me because I'm not here for just simple likes. I get plenty of that outside of YouTube. But I am appreciative of the data because the data points matter, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I will continue to be here. I appreciate y'all, at least until my country is back on the right track. Once again, for those people that don't know me, I'm an American citizen, born and raised in Washington, D.C. I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. I live outside of the U.S. as an adult, and my family is here also. My kids are here, but my family in the U.S., in the country I was born in, go back on both sides of my family to the beginning of the country, to the colonial period. So I'm just contributing what I can, where I am, to this situation that my country finds itself and my countrymen find themselves in today. If you think that's a valid reason to be here, then feel free to continue to support. And those of you that don't, it's okay because you don't always get what you want. Peace. Release the Epstein files. Subscribe and click like.